He's Jeff Van Gundy back on the show. How are you, Jeff?
Good, Rich. What's going on?
I'm just taking this all in. I wonder what you think the story is so far the first week and a half of the NBA playoffs, Jeff.
Well, I thought Brooklyn and Orlando winning game ones on the road was a huge accomplishment. I think both Philly and Toronto will win the series, but I thought that gave some credence or some excitement to the first round in the East that wasn't going to be there, I didn't think, because I just thought there was such separation between the top four and the bottom four. So those two wins I thought were good.
And then you've got the Blazers taking a 2-0 lead into OKC tonight. What do you think's going through the temples of the Thunder prior to this evening's game, Jeff?
Well, their biggest problem, and it's been their biggest weakness for quite some time, is they just don't have offensive firepower. They don't shoot the three well, and they don't have bench firepower other than Schroeder. So they're a very limited roster from an offensive standpoint, and that's why Westbrook, George, and Schroeder all have to play well for them to be high-quality teams, particularly on the road. So they played a good first game, got blown out in game two in the second half. Lillard and McCollum were terrific, as was the whole Blazer team. I'm not sure exactly why we're startled by that. Maybe it's because they had gotten swept the two previous years, but Portland's a good team, and they've been consistent throughout the season. And
the Warriors just dismantling Los Angeles last night after being shocked by blowing that 31-point lead. Do you think the Warriors are still, without a doubt, the unbeatable team in the West? And if not, then who do you think's got the best shot to take care of them?
I think they're the best team. I don't think they're unbeatable, though. I think Houston has played really well for a long period of time. I think they had a good shot at them last year with home court advantage. Unfortunately, Chris Paul got hurt. They were up double digits in game both 6 and 7 at half, and give the Warriors credit for coming back. So I think even though they don't have home court this year, the Rockets, I believe, will push and are the only team in the Western Conference that'll be able to push Golden State. But I do think the Eastern Conference champion, whoever it turns out to be, but particularly if it's Milwaukee or Toronto, they would have a puncher's chance to win.
Why is that?
Well, I just think both teams, you look at Milwaukee, for whatever reason, people focus just on Giannis, but not on their whole team. They've been an elite offensive team, top 5, and an elite defensive team, top 5. That's the profile of a championship caliber team. The one thing right now that they're battling is injury. I think Brogdon, Snell, those injuries are significant. If they can get back, get into rhythm, get healthy, I think Milwaukee is a really, really good team.
Jeff Van Gundy here on the Rich Eisen show. Do you think Durant's made his mind up? Do you think it's a done deal, as it's been discussed, that he's going to go to New York and try and build a franchise winner in a city that is so desperate for one, Jeff?
I think most free agents have a feeling of what they're going to do throughout the course of a season, but I think circumstances can change those feelings. So just because a player feels like on April 17th or 18th what they're going to do, does that mean they're going to stick with that? I don't. What I don't believe is people aren't thinking about it, the players themselves, or they say they haven't given it any thought. I've never thought that to be truthful. So I think they do have plans, they have ideas, but I think circumstance can change. And frankly, if Golden State wins it again, I don't know if that gives them a better chance or a worse chance to retain Durant. I'm not sure. Until you know a person's priorities, it's really hard to know what they're going to do, because you really don't know what means the most to them.
It just seems to me, Jeff, and I said this at the beginning of the show here today, that after a night like last night, that you look at the Warriors and Durant and you say that Durant is still an outsider because he joined the team after they'd already won their first one, and he needs to go somewhere else in order to build his own legacy, and he wants to do that despite clearly being on a remarkable squad. Why would he want to leave the situation that we saw unfold last night, Jeff? I don't get it.
Yeah, if he does, I probably won't get it either. But again, it doesn't matter what we get. It matters what the player believes and what the player wants. You know, frankly, I was shocked that LeBron James left Cleveland the first time. I was shocked he left Miami the first time. I was shocked he left Cleveland the second time. So, you know, again, because you don't know what their priorities are, you can't figure out what they want to do. And I think certainly the one thing I disagree with most media, I don't think Durant had to leave Oklahoma City to cement his greatness as a player or a championship mentality. I always thought he went about his business correctly. He played hard. He played well. But he did leave. I don't think of him any differently with the Warriors as I did in Golden State or in Oklahoma City. I don't think of him as a greater player there in Golden State just because he joined a great team and won a championship or two. And I won't think any less of him as a player if he leaves and goes to some other place. That doesn't mean I'll understand it necessarily, but I won't think of him any lesser.
Jeff Van Gundy here on the Rich Eisen Show. Speaking of shocking, you certainly caught my ear a few weeks ago, Jeff, when you said during a game that if you're the Lakers, you have to consider trading LeBron James as the way to try and figure out this roster and how best to move forward. Do you still feel that way?
Don't you just hate when what you say goes on record? Like, that's just terrible, right? No. But,
we all heard it. I heard it. I'm like, wow.
Actually, I would never back away because listen, in my time, Shaquille O'Neal's been traded. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has been traded. Two of the greatest to ever have played. And so the idea that you would never trade a great player, I think is naive. And I think, listen, it would be best if you could build a championship team around James. If you could assure yourself that you're going to get an Anthony Davis type or two to join up. But if that doesn't pan out and you have to try to build a championship caliber team on a different timeline, meaning you don't think you're going to get there during James's time in LA, then you have to think about everything's got to be on the table. You've not been in the playoffs 6 straight years, and you have every advantage in the NBA. You have weather, you have money, you have everything, and you haven't been there for 6 years. So you have to think outside the box. Now, they did a great job in getting James there. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka did a great job of convincing him to come there. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to continually to think about what's best for your team. And I would say probably 99.9% they're going to keep him. But I could see if they got a Herschel Walker, Minnesota Vikings type deal, or a Paul Pierce, Kevin Durant, Brooklyn Nets deal, that you would seriously have to consider it.
Well, if Jeannie Buss reached out to you in the aftermath of Magic Johnson essentially just tapping out of nowhere, and Ty Lue is now coming in for an interview, and obviously that's somebody that you'd be. I don't know if the word catering would be, because he does have some Lakers history, but obviously LeBron James knows him and is very comfortable with him. What advice would you give the owner of the Lakers right now with July 1st around the corner and being such a crucial period for that franchise?
Don't listen to that idiot Van Gundy. Keep James at all costs. Are you kidding me? That would be – listen, Ty Lue, I think if they decide to go that way, the two guys that they're considering – it seems Ty Lue and Monty Williams are both eminently qualified and have history with James. I think their roster last year – now, listen, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, too. When James exited on Christmas Day in the third quarter of that game, they won at Golden State, and they were in fourth place. He was out longer than everybody anticipated. They sort of cratered during that time, and I think what no one thought was when he came back that they would still be bad. And so I don't think you can overreact, but I think the roster around him last year, because they made him up of one-year contract guys, made very little sense as far as how the fit was around James and how he's proven to be at his best offensively. Now, I do think James and the rest of the team, but particularly James, to get to championship caliber in a highly competitive Western Conference, he's going to have to put up the same numbers, and he's going to have to recommit defensively. And that doesn't mean 48 minutes of defense for 82 games. That means, like most great scorers, pick time and places that you absolutely turn it on defensively when it's crunch time of games. Because he's no longer, I mean, he looks unbelievable. He still plays great, but he's not young. He has a lot of wear and tear on him, and he can't be, 48 minutes of all-out defense, but he can be more attentive defensively, and I think he slipped in that area last year.
Well, Jeff, as you know, I value your opinion. That's why I love having you on as much as we have you on, and I hear what you say during the games. I pay close attention, so I think you are aware that we did notice last NBA Finals, I don't think we've had you on since then, that we noticed you mentioned on the air that you were classmates with Jodie Foster at Yale. And I think...
Yeah, and then you cheap-shotted me afterwards.
No, I don't know. I don't know about cheap.
You brought her on, and she just, feigned total indifference to my existence in the world.
Well, Jeff, we just needed clarification. She was not on for that specifically. She was promoting her film work. But I do have that. I do, just to be fair and balanced, want to give you the opportunity. This is how it went down last summer. Well, you went to Yale.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you're aware, but you going to Yale was brought up on Game 2 of the NBA Finals.
No way.
Yes. Jeff Van Gundy, who was on the broadcast, said he went to school with you.
No way.
In a class.
Sorry, Jeff. Don't remember you. You weren't that memorable. Oops.
You don't remember Jeff Van Gundy
I'm
in
afraid
class?
I don't.
Can we bring up a picture of Jeff Van Gundy? The one in the middle is Jeff Van Gundy. Does that ring a bell to you?
That rings no bell whatsoever. I'm so sorry, Jeff.
So did I cheap shot you there, Jeff?
I mean, it was a setup. I mean, you know what the crazy part is, and stop me if I've told you the story.
Go for it.
But so our freshman year, there was 12 guys on the floor, and we had some like brainiac students, and then we had some misfits that didn't belong there, like myself. And so we all threw in $100 and said, "Hey, the first guy that gets a date with Jodie Foster, you win the money." All right, so it's $1,200.
Wow.
So I'm coming back from the gym in the early fall, and there was a candy shop right outside the big quad for freshmen. And all these sirens are going by. And so I stop right in front of the candy store and watch the sirens go by. The popcorn is popping. It smells great. And from behind me, someone goes, "Man, that popcorn smells good." And I turn around, and I'm going to say, "Yeah, it does." And it's her. And I totally choke, and I say, "Yeah, yeah." And I run to my dorm, right? I was scared. I was intimidated by her. So if she doesn't remember me, it's because I blew my one chance.
Oh.
Not only at the money, but to meet fame right there. Yeah.
Well, if I'd known that, she might have remembered the famed popcorn incident on the campus.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
No, huh?
I think, when – no.
Wow.
Yeah, I think –
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I did have my one chance of actually meeting her. I was in a class with her. And, I mean, first of all, what a star – actress, what a career she's had.
Right.
But, she was a star student there, too. I mean, think about it. I was in a class with her. We had to stand on the other side when all the threats, the assassination attempt against Reagan.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so what a time. But she always handled herself so great.
Well, look.
But I choked. I absolutely choked. I was like a guy who airballed the two free throws to win the game.
Sounds like you didn't even take your shot, Jeff. That's what it sounds like. You just look.
No, I ran away. I panicked. I froze. Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Well, we figured it was amazing. You said it on the air, and like literally, she was scheduled to be in studio a couple days later. We figured we'd ask, and we did, and now we're bringing it up to you again.
It didn't turn out great. Now, if I ever see her, she was at a Laker game like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago that we were doing. She was about 6 rows from me, and I think she was with family. But the next time, if she comes to a Laker game or a Clipper game, and I'm there, I'm going to go introduce myself.
And you could say, "I'm Jeff Van Gundy. I'm the guy from Yale that Rich brought up to you. Let's just share."
And you said I was totally not memorable. That's the quote that changed.
That's the quote for sure.
She could have just said, "No, I don't remember him," but she said, "Totally not memorable."
Oh, Jeff, you're the best, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Look forward to your call. You got it. Look forward to your call tonight on ESPN and then on ABC later on this weekend.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.